Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Chef Yusuf Show, where we learn to cook the Islamic way. In previous episode, we learned how to make soup. The foundation of soup is a good stock. And of course, we learned how to thicken the soup using a variety of methods like pureeing the vegetable and making a roux. A lot of people ask me, Jeff, what about making a soup from the can? Is that something you recommend? Of course, it's something I recommend, especially in the month of Ramadan. I think a can of soup is a gift from Allah. It will cut our cooking time. We can make a lot of wonderful things with the can of soup. But technically, there is no comparison between a soup that you make from scratch and heating this up. But there is a benefit, though, of canned soup. It is a way to allow your children to start cooking. My experience was the first thing I ever made in my life is open a can of soup and I heat it up. I called it a dish. After that, I opened the can of soup, I heat it up, I added some meat, some vegetables, some shrimp, some cheese, and I started cooking, beginning with a can of soup. So it is something I encourage the mothers and the parents who are watching the show. If you want to encourage your children, let them start with a can of soup. In today's episode, I'm going to show you some of the tricks that you can do with a can of soup other than soup. So we'll go ahead and show you 2 or 3 things that we're going to do today, inshallah. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to start with, I'm going to make a good sauce using the cream of mushroom. Cream of mushroom, when you open the can, it looks like an extremely thick and gelatinized liquid. So if you want your soup or the sauce to be more on the creamy side, you can add a little bit of milk on it. You can add broth if you want to make it on the less creamy side. If you want to have it extreme creamy side, you can add the cream. I like to go with the middle, so I added a little bit of milk to thinner the cream of mushroom. So this will have like a cream mushroom a little bit on the thin side. So in a skillet here, we'll add some fat. So to start to make any good white sauce, I do recommend using onions and garlic. So this is even if you buy the Alfredo sauce from your supermarket, and if you want to put it on some kind of lasagna, I do encourage just cutting a little bit of onion, any type of onion, scallop, green onions, and some garlic, as I'll show you. And I have a big fat garlic over here, so I'll go ahead and add that. I'm going to start with putting my weight all the way, crushing the garlic. This will make it easier to peel. Go ahead and cut the end off, and let's go ahead and chop that as well. I always recommend that using sweated onions. The sweated onions, maybe I'll do that next time, inshallah. When you have sweated onions and you can keep it in your fridge, anytime you want to add like cooked onions on anything, you just use that to put it on whatever you want. Sweated onions is just basically cooking the onions with butter with the low heat. This will allow the onions to sweat and become soft and translucent. So cooking this will take a few seconds. We're not gonna overcook it, and make sure the garlic, you don't want to burn it. So after we cook this, really it's just using the can of the cream of mushroom to make a really good sauce. If you do cook a little bit of meat with it, it will be much more beautiful and much more tasteful. All right, but this is the basic method, is using the cream of mushroom with a little bit of onions and garlic, and added it on top of any spaghetti or any pasta. So this is the first thing that we can do with a can of mushroom. And if it needs more liquid, we have our milk over here, cream or broth. So let's go ahead and cook this, and as it will thicken, we'll go ahead and add it on top of the ravioli. Any white sauce, of course, it will go well with some bacon. If you have some bacon, the halal bacon, a lot of time, the Muslim community have a lot of challenge when they go out to restaurants, and every time they eat clown chowder soup, any white soup, they see the bits of they think it's seafood, but there is actually bacon in these things. So we are thickening the cream of mushroom right now. until it becomes a really nice and wonderful sauce. Adjust seasoning, add salt and pepper if it needs to, make sure you taste it. And we'll use a spoon method to know if it's thick enough. Spoon method is basically looking in the back of the spoon, rolling your finger across it, and you'll see how thickened the soup is. You don't want anything to drip down, so this needs more thickening. So go ahead and cook it a bit more. So as you can see here, the sauce is coming together. It's becoming thicker and thicker. When we deal with Alfredo or with any white sauce on spaghetti or on fettuccine, I do like to add some sort of cheese. So right now we have some Parmesan cheese. We'll add some Parmesan cheese so to further thicken the sauce. And Parmesan cheese, of course, the cheaper you buy it, the less cheese it has. This is known when it comes to Parmesan. So be careful, because they have the cheese and they have other ingredients just to make the quantity bigger. So keep that in mind when it comes to buying and investing in your Parmesan cheese to go on top of any white sauce that will go on top of any pasta dish. So this is a really simple way to make, to use the cream of mushroom to make a sauce. As you can see, it's really nice at this time. So we'll go ahead and add the ravioli or the pasta. Okay, put it back in a plate. Make sure you taste it. Add more cheese. And this is a really simple method of making a sauce out of cream of mushroom, which turns out very wonderful and very delicious. The more hours and the more efforts they put in making an ingredient is the most flavor it has. So why not use the cream of mushroom to make a wonderful sauce? So this is my first technique of using a can of soup to make something else. Next, we will show you something which is more interesting when we come back after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Don't go away.